Well, hey there everybody, my name's Jonathan Doyle. Welcome to the Catholic Teacher Daily Message. Welcome aboard if you're a new viewer, listener. Great to have you here. What is this about? This is simply a daily message going out around the world to the incredible Catholic educators that are the front line, the special forces of the Church's missionary effort. That is who you are. You are no longer allowed to say when you go to a barbecue or go to someone's house, you're at dinner, they say, what do? You are no longer allowed to say, I'm just a teacher. You're allowed to say, I am on the front lines as Jesus Christ, special forces operator against the titanic forces of darkness, the principalities and powers and rulers in this dark world. The buck stops with you. You may not get invited back to dinner next time, but just say it, see what happens, all right? But I love you guys. I love what you're doing every single day, and these are just my humble efforts to encourage you. So whether you're on the podcast version today or you're watching here on YouTube or Rumble, do me a favor, hit subscribe. It does make a big difference to me as the channel grows, as the content reaches more people, and just share it with people. And listen, if you like what you hear and you want me to do a topic, a video or a podcast on a particular topic in Catholic education, something that's challenging you, something you're finding is difficult, or you want advice or guidance on, or something I can do, so please just put that in the comments, and I'm going to get back to you, and I'm going to do content just on that. Now, today we're going to jump into a great quote about the central nature of Catholic education. I think that's one of the great risks we face, and I've been banging on for about 20 years on this, is that, the Church didn't establish the schools to be, the Church established her schools for particular reasons. Let's find out what that reason is in today's quote. You ready? You're listening? Let's do it. At the heart of Catholic education, there is always Jesus Christ. Everything that happens in Catholic schools and universities should lead to an encounter with the living Christ. All right, I like that quote. It's from the Instrumentum Laboris, which means the working document back in 2014 for a really important meeting in the Vatican on the nature of Catholic education. This is not rocket science. One of the things that has probably led me to a degree of frustration and losing more hair than I would have liked in my earlier years was the ability to make the straightforward complex. Catholic schools exist for a few basic purposes. If you want to get into the weeds on it, it's integral formation. It's the development of the human person in the image of Christ, particularly drawn from some of the insights of the Second Vatican Council. And essentially, it's a place where people encounter Jesus and they become disciples of Christ. So the Church obviously established the schools originally because a lot of the great saints saw the poverty that was endemic in some of the world's great cities, and felt the heart of Christ. At the very least, if they could help these, firstly, a lot of the schools were established to get the kids off the streets in the first place, because these kids were at risk of all sorts of abuse and violence. So giving them a place to go for the day became first part of it. And then it was, if we could teach these kids to read and write, then they might be able to get employment. So the original, sort of emphasis, the original drive was the heart of Christ, was that these great men and women, these great founders of the Church's educational orders, felt the heart of Christ for the poor and the lost. And they wanted to create a place where people could, their dignity, their worth and their value could be protected and encouraged and developed. And then, of course, their minds could be developed. Why? Because the image of the human person in the image of Christ is that all of us matters. Our brains, our bodies, our spirituality, sexuality, all these different aspects of who we are. None of it is separate from our creation in the Imago Dei, in the image of God. So the founders could see that dignity and see that it was at risk and threat, and wanted to create a place where it could be protected and nurtured and loved. And then they wanted to develop the minds so that then people would have economic opportunity, which would increase their dignity and build the common good. So for all the criticism the Church has got over the centuries, what a remarkable thing, huh? What an incredible thing to be proud of. What a beautiful, noble, wonderful thing that is. So what this quote is saying is, if we drift from that principle, that it is a place where people encounter Christ, then it's game over. It doesn't matter if everybody gets to go to Harvard. It doesn't matter if everybody becomes a social justice warrior. It doesn't matter if we have endless numbers of, social justice activist days at our schools, which, to be honest, is the case in a lot of schools, particularly in my country. We can do that anywhere. That could be done at any government public education facility. So if we lose the discipling of people in relationship with Jesus Christ, remember this document I quote today said that everything about Catholic schools and universities should lead to an encounter with Christ. Now, that could be a deep spiritual encounter through liturgy and music and prayer, but it could also be a deep encounter with Christ through intellectual development from great teachers teaching great mathematics and literature and poetry and music. So you can see how all the aspects of a Catholic school can come together for people to encounter the beauty of Christ. So I just want to say to people, if we're not doing that, then we need to have the courage to just close the doors, hand it back to the government and say, hey, give us some money for the property. We're going to shell that out and donate that somewhere else. But we're no longer in good conscience able to run this Catholic school because it ain't Catholic. It ain't preaching Christ. It ain't a place where young people can encounter Christ. It's not a place where teachers are living it and care about it and want to communicate it. So let's just do the right thing. Let's have the integrity to shut it down. But whatever we do, we just don't want it to be lukewarm. We don't want it to be a bit of this, bit of that. Let's do one or the other. I'm a black and white guy. Well, I'm all in black today. But that's what I think. That's what I'm passionate about. If you don't agree, don't watch the channel, because that's what I believe. I think, if we're gonna have to give an account of ourselves. We're gonna have to stand before the throne of Christ and say, you put me in this school, and I was pretty much no different to the kids turning on The View or watching Oprah. I didn't really preach Christ. I didn't gently and deliberately over a significant period of time introduce them to the beauty of the faith, because I was busy doing other stuff. I was busy giving them my political views. Okay. You can tell I'm passionate about it, because we put up with it a lot. Definitely in this country. I think in the US, I love visiting the US because I think it's been a little bit different there. But we've got to preach Christ. So take it up with the Vatican if you don't like it. I mean, it's from their document, right? It says everything. It didn't say some things. It didn't say this, that, or the other. It said everything about the Catholic school and university should lead to the encounter with Christ. Everything. The art, the architecture, the grounds. Why should we try and have beautiful grounds? Because Christ is beautiful. Because the transcendental values of the faith are truth, beauty, and goodness. So all of this stuff can happen at Catholic school. I've got to stop because I'll just get on a tangent and I'll just keep ranting. But let's just be Catholic. Let's just do it. It's not rocket science. It's just, if we know Christ, if we love our Catholic faith, then let's go do that. And let's just put it out there. And if we're left with about 2 or 3 schools and they're authentically Catholic, then amen to that. All right? Here endeth the lesson. I'm passionate about it. So, hope you're subscribed. If you've survived this episode, hit the subscribe button. Post a comment saying, Jonathan, you're wrong. We exist to be an arm of government and to perpetuate government mantras about all sorts of social issues and inflict them and indoctrinate our kids with our own political views. Put it in the comments. At least let's have a conversation about it. And yes, there is a link here to get free access to 10 weeks of the Going Deeper program. 10 weeks. 10 weeks. Free access. So go and search the links. There's also, if you want to come and book me to speak, please do that. So I'd love to come and do that. It's all there. God bless you, everybody. My name's Jonathan Doyle. I'll have another message for you tomorrow.